First of all, we're glad to hold this interview with the director Jason Gottlieb, and it's an honor for us. Tell us more about yourself, please, about your past in cinematic world, and how did you come up with the idea to connect your life with this?
Great. Yeah, sure. My name is Jason Gottlieb. I'm a designer and artist here in Baltimore, Maryland, in the United States. I'm kind of new to the cinematic world. I have a background in graphic design and fine art. Painting is where I started. I'm a faculty at a school called MICA here in Baltimore in the graphic design department, where I teach a variety of things, including motion graphics. But I've always loved film, and motion graphics kind of segues into that a little bit. So once I discovered AI and started playing around with it, I just decided this is a really cool opportunity to try and tell a story, and that was where it began.
Thank you for your story, and tell us more about the first film you've made.
The first film I made. Okay, so the first film I made is part of a larger project that I'm calling Love with Pain. It's my drag operetta against fascism. And as we know, there are kind of authoritarian forces on the rise in the world. And I'm interested in ways that we can counteract some of these darknesses. And I've always been a huge fan of drag and people kind of playing around with gender. But I have not yet ever been in drag myself, and I was compelled through AI to try what would it be like if I had a drag persona. And surprisingly, it was very liberating and fun to kind of play around with that. And it also was an interesting opportunity to see how some of these tools react to gender and how they portray gender and how they react against gender. So it just started to be kind of an interesting way to think about things. So the first music video that I released, that I submitted to you all, is called Shame. And it's actually a kind of a parody of a popular indie game called Stardew Valley that you may be familiar with. I know it has an international following, but it's kind of a agricultural simulator where you are a farmer and you raise crops. And I've kind of, since discovering the game, I've kind of thought about how interesting it is that so many of us have a yearning to get back to the kind of agricultural lifestyle, or to at least to nature, yet we're doing that within the context of a piece of technology that couldn't be less couldn't be less natural in a way. It's totally man-made. So I appreciate kind of the irony of that. I appreciate that it kind of culturally speaks to that yearning that we all have to return to something different from what we have now. I actually, believe it or not, went on. I did my DNA test recently and discovered that I'm half Ukrainian Ashkenazi Jew.
Oh,
And my family never really spoke about our heritage in great depth, so I was really kind of excited and honored to learn, but also I feel a sense of loss that I don't really know a lot about my heritage. But I know that sunflowers are significant in their symbolic meaning to you all. And I've always loved sunflowers, and I had kind of already started working them into the narrative of the larger project. Um, and so, it's interesting to see how history kind of can be discovered, and how, symbols have meaning sometimes beyond what we're even initially thinking. Maybe there's something subconscious that is drawing me towards them. Um, but they ended up kind of factoring significantly into the plot of the whole story. In the video game, you can cultivate sunflowers and build an entire field of sunflowers and sell them to make money. And I know that that was a significant part of kind of the history of the Ukraine. But the sunflower is also meaningful in just its efficiency in terms of its water usage, in terms of its many abilities to kind of be used for different useful things. And so I ended up going down a little bit of a rabbit hole and learning about aspects of Ukrainian history that I hadn't known. So, you know, that's a little bit about that. The key thing I've left out is the parody of the whole video is that in the game there is a standard marriage dynamic where you marry one person. And I kind of thought at a certain point or another, well, I want to marry multiple people. What's, you know, where's the feature for that? And it got me just thinking about how certain aspects of culture and kind of the way in which we function in society is kind of codified into these game systems. And I thought, you know, it would be funny, even though I love the game, it's an amazing game. And it actually is one of the first that has gay marriage that I played in my lifetime, which was very meaningful to me as a gay guy. I felt like it was very inclusive. But then I thought, well, who doesn't it include? I have numerous friends who are polyamorous, and I still think that that's the next frontier in terms of kind of liberating ways of thinking of difference. And I thought, you know, it would be really interesting to imagine a real world scenario that is kind of hybridized with this narrative of the game, to kind of explore that topic.
Thank you for your insights and this story, and welcome to Ukrainian family.
Thank you. Oh, that's so nice of you to say. Thank
Actually,
you.
right now I'm sitting because of the cutouts of our energy Ukrainian restaurant, and they have at the entrance a lot of like sunflowers all over the hall. So yeah, you are right. It's actually super symbolic in Ukraine, but we actually have like a different approach to that because it's also connected with our like all Slavic gods Dashbo, and it was like also a symbol of hope and like it's a lot of brings this like only one flower. And also if we're talking about your inspiration, what were there any films or directors that influence your approach in this project?
Oh gosh, you know, I almost hesitate to say because I'm such a beginner and I don't want to evoke the names of any legends, you know, but, you know, I really, I like to think I love all film. I've definitely been influenced by a number of people. I've always been a fan of David Lynch. Everything he's done has always kind of compelled and inspired me. Um, you know, I'm a fan of animation and video games, which have their own kind of connection to film and film history. Um, oh, who should I say? Cronenberg has been someone who I've always been interested in. Something about his use of kind of grotesque imagery of the body and the way in which he kind of unhinges the viewer, by manipulating the body in ways that are unexpected. Always been a fan, but you know, really, there are too many amazing directors. I'll just sit here talking forever, but you know, yeah, I just love film. There's something magical about it. It brings people together. Stories are powerful. You mentioned hope when you were talking about the sunflower, and I kind of feel like we all need hope. And film can help us get there. It can help us suspend our kind of disbelief, and the world can feel hopeless at times, and you can forget that things are possible, that you know really amazing things are possible. Um, so I'd like to think I'm working in that tradition.
And you also told about that you're a graphic designer, maybe some artists that you were influenced by, or some.
Oh, good question. I started off really interested in painters. There's a French painter, John Dubuffet, who and another one, Anselm Kiefer, who both had really textured surfaced paintings that I saw at a very young age, and something intuitive in me was just drawn to it. Maybe it was I was still very young, and I would draw on the ground, draw on the dirt with sticks, and the more I kind of researched like the history of Art Brut and like Dubuffet's thoughts just about the kind of importance of a childlike perspective in kind of reaction to the war, and just kind of an attempt to kind of reset things and be like, maybe we are going in the wrong direction, trying so hard to recreate reality, to try and make, photography. Maybe, it also had something to do with that. But I just thought it was radical and crazy to see these strange childlike portraits in the biggest museums. I thought it was kind of, whatever, punk rock. It just seemed crazy and cool. And then in terms of graphic design, um, there's all sorts of people. For some reason, the first person that pops into my mind is Barbara Kruger. Um, Something about the way her stuff sits kind of a little bit between what we think of as graphic design and fine art, and plays with kind of drawing our awareness to advertising and kind of consumer capitalist culture, and really forces us to really kind of think a little bit more about what is the meaning behind these slogans and taglines, and how are they potentially seeking to control us, to control our bodies. There's so many people that inspire me in fine art and graphic design, but yeah, those were the first references that popped into my head.
Thank you for sharing. And if we're talking about the process of this project, what was the most challenging task that you faced during making this project?
That's a great question. Um, well, the only kind of real thing that I used in the process of putting it all together was a single photo of me. Everything else was kind of based on putting that into these systems. And I think the challenge was trying to learn to negotiate with a computer. Basically, it's unlike any tool I've ever used before in that it's kind of a black box. It's hidden. Like, we don't know exactly why certain things don't work, or we can imagine or try and predict, but it's very chaotic and crazy. So it's often very surprising how difficult it can be to do something that seems quite simple, like have a character drink a glass of water or something. You would think, sure, no problem. But once you start working with the medium, you get an idea of limitations everywhere. There's just so many things it doesn't understand. And so I would say it was like the biggest challenge was trying to learn how to collaborate with something that is like non-human, or just different than any other collaboration I've ever had. And I do like to call it a collaboration because it gives me ideas. It makes mistakes and does weird things that end up giving me a new idea about how to do it. But yeah, it was hard. I think a lot of people look at stuff people are making with AI and think like, they're not doing any work. They're just typing some things in, but it was actually quite grueling and challenging to get certain shots and to get it to be the way I want. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, so you know, a lot went into it actually.
And what do you hope audiences will take away from this film?
Good question. I don't want to be too prescriptive. I do like the idea that people will get things out of it that I didn't even intend. I do like to think people will find a little bit of humor and lightness in the stuff that I do. It's just a very dark time for a lot of people in the world, and I just think humor is magical if you can kind of laugh at the at the darkness now and again. It's rejuvenating, so I hope people don't take it too seriously, but I hope it's balanced with a sense of them feeling like maybe there is something quite serious about this film, because I actually think if we are going to fight fascism or authoritarianism or any kind of large forces that are seeking to control, it's really important that we stay true to some of the things we love and our own, aspects of our own identity that might not fit very nicely into culture. Drag isn't always something everyone loves. There's definitely a couple scenes in my film that are, a little bit maybe edgy or uncomfortable. I've got, a scene with, someone sitting in a toilet and someone vomiting. There's just grittiness to it. And I don't know, I feel like if we can be real, if we can kind of be queer and strange, if we can be feminists and like, empower women, if we can have like little moments of kind of just embracing these things we love, even if it may not seem to have a clear effect on like saving the world. All these little things actually are really important, in addition to all of the more kind of direct action that we need to take. We need to keep the spirit alive of creativity and kind of queerness, strangeness that we hopefully, I think, all have a little bit of inside of us. Like none of us fit 100% into the mold, So I think we should kind of honor those weird things.
Yeah, especially nowadays when everyone, yeah, consuming all these trends and everyone looks the same. But yeah, and personally,
Yeah.
how this film affected you personally?
Oof. Well, it's been really amazing to kind of find a new community around film and around kind of experimental AI art. I've met a lot of people who really inspire me and are just doing really beautiful and amazing work. I've gotten to go to events that, you know, um, non-AI filmmakers are, sharing stuff they've been working on with a team of people for years. And it's just been very humbling and inspiring to even be a part of some of these things, because I just see so much amazing beauty and creativity, and I feel really lucky to get to, be a part of any of that.
Really looking forward to see your project, and thank you for sharing your insights with us today. And we're excited to present your film at our festival and can't wait to see it on the big screen.
Thank you so much. I can't tell you, I really appreciate it. It's been wonderful talking to you, and yeah, I look forward to seeing what comes next.